Yeah. When you said mandolin, reminded me.
All right, staff, you good?
Actually, most recently, he was in the ukulele.
All right, call this meeting of the Port Hood River Commission to order. Are there any modifications to the agenda from staff?
No, none from staff.
Anything from commission that I don't know about?
None from commission.
Great. We've got one commissioner. It's gonna be a few minutes late and one who won't be able to make it this evening. So Commissioner Gang should be here anytime. Daryl, we need to read Port Ordinance 27, please.
Well, this is
Or is that
actually
you?
opening the hearing.
Opening the hearing for it. Okay, don't need to read it.
That's right.
Then
We'll do
we'll
that
open the
later.
hearing for the second reading of Port Ordinance 27. Public comment. Thank you for joining us. Always nice to get. Yes. Is anybody not signed up that would like to say something? Right. Okay. I'll just call your name. Each person has 5 minutes. Just tell us your name, your address. Jen will let you know when you're getting close to your time. I try not to be too strict about that, but we can't be here all night. So please keep the 5 minutes if you can. But we're excited to hear what you have to say. So is it Pete?
Yeah.
Please.
But stand here.
Yeah, yes, please.
Hi, my name is Pete Valentine, interim resident. I live at 895 McKenna Lane, so right up by West Side School. I've been a Hood River County resident for about 24 years. I've worked for the city of Hood River for a little bit and then took a job elsewhere. But I continue to live in the city because I love it here, just like everybody else that lives here, hopefully. So I did want to speak towards the ordinance 27, which has to do with the change in the parking fee structure that's been proposed. And so from what I understand is there's 3 zones now that are going to be going to have some parking fees attached to them. So zone 1 down on the Hook and all the roadway down there. Zone 2 would be the part right now that's already has a fee structure in place, from what I understand, where the event site is. And then zone 3, which is where the boat launch is. So just to be very open, we come down here quite often to use the boat launch as a family, and I come down with my friends. We use the other parts, the Hook and the event site, a little bit more sparingly. I love going out on the water and being able to spend that time with my friends and family. So a few questions and concerns I have is as I read through that ordinance 27, or the proposal, at least the copy that I got, I did have some questions. It sounded like that the fee structure was going to be $2.50 an hour, and then it was a max like $15 for a vehicle up to 20 feet. It didn't really say. It did say that if you're over 20 feet, that you would be up to $25 a day, but I wasn't really clear based on like everybody pulling in here would be to have a trailer, like a boat trailer. So if you're up, does that 20 feet include the apparatus and your trailer, or is it all in one, or however? And then if so, and we're paying for parking, how does that look for like a regular standard car now parking in the big long spots that would be for the boat trailers and stuff? So that was a question I had. It didn't seem like that an annual pass is going to be available. I do understand that things cost money, and I do understand the reason that there was a push to make this change. Because the bridge toll money is now not going to be used to help. And I do understand that it's a very small percentage of what our taxes are that actually do come to the port. And so again, my main thing is I'd rather pay nothing, but I do understand that things cost money. And I'm not saying that I personally am unwilling to pay. I'm just asking for a little bit more consideration for maybe the fee structure. And so what I'm asking is, maybe a consideration for extending that annual pass to all 3 zones to make it a little bit easier for some of us to get up, who are up early in the morning and maybe out already, to not try to figure out how to get our pass for the day and this and that. And also too, some of the other local boat launches. I know that it's not to launch the boat. I get that because the federal waterway laws, but it's a parking lot. And so Skamania County has something similar, right? They have an annual pass that's that you can buy, and you can buy it if you're out of the county or if you're in the county. And so if you're out of county, it's $75, and it counts for, Drano Lake, it counts for down at the Wind, and the Benjamin boat ramp. I don't think it's part of that, but And then if you're in Skamania County, that annual pass is only like $10, right? So it's not something, it's something that's generating money, but not something that's potentially causing a financial strain on a person's family, based on, you know, everything. I know everything's expensive, so my first thing would be ideas if we could extend that annual pass to all 3 zones, and then, you know, make it to where a Hood River County resident who already does pay taxes, whatever that number is, but already pays taxes, maybe it's at a reduced rate. So I know that Cascade Locks is up to charging $10 is all per day. 15 here seems like that's 3 times more than what Skamania County's costs for a daily pass, right? If you're out of resident. You can go to the Dallas Port, Rowena, Rufus, all the way up. None of those boat launches have any fee structure. And I do understand that they do not have the same amount of services here. So that part is not comparable, except for maybe the Dallas. The Dallas, as far as what we could find, and I've launched there several times, that does not have any type of a parking fee associated with the boat launch or usage, to my knowledge. So again, I don't know how much time I have, but I want to, okay, I want to thank you guys for your time and for listening. And you know, I know that the board members are a voted position, and it's once you're voted in, you're never really done. That you always are taking, you know, input from being a liaison, for lack of better terms, for the voice of the people, right? And those things need to line up with your guys' core values, you know, such as transparency, stewardship, and innovation. And that way you can vote and change things as you need to for the people that are using stuff here. I don't feel like we should be paying tourist prices to use things that are in our own backyard. So again, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Pete. Joe.
Hi, my name is Joe Bething and I live up Parkdale, 3995 Cedar Lane Drive. I've been here since '96, I think, so like I said, so I would, you know, Pete stole a lot of my thunder there, but I looked up the rate of the marinas up and down the Columbia River. And you know, Hammond would have $10 a day for parking and launch and $150 for a annual fee. So and the rest of them were, as Pete said, so state parks $30 a year or $50 for 2 years. So I would be asking for some kind of a annual fee for the zone 3 area for the marina, for those folks of us that don't use the rest of the port areas that you guys have, but some kind of a structure like that, if it's a locals only or however that works, but some kind of avenue for that for those of us that fish and use the water for family and water skiing and stuff. So thank you very much. Thanks for all your time too.
Thank you. Herb.
My name is Herb Good, and I was born and raised here. And I just glanced through this thing at the fees as these gentlemen covered. I see nothing here, any discount for veterans, disabled people, aged people. Skamania, I have one for people over 70. Some have for disabled veterans. I think you gotta look into things like that. Then I think when I go down this boat ramp, I've been going down there for years. People leave the trailers there. You people have not done one thing about leaving the trailer there day in, day out for weeks. Who's going to patrol them? You have a system lined out for how we're going to patrol this thing. And then when I read into this about an app, some people, you know, don't have an app. I still have an old flip phone. So I'm not into that world of punching it in like that. So I just think you ought to look into this fee thing. And I don't know, when did this all come? I don't understand. Nobody had raised anything about it until they closed Buoy 10 last year. We had 85 trailers. I count the trailers every day since the parking lot. This was full, the overflow was full, everything else, 85 trailers. That's a lot. We're gonna have that from here on out. Because they keep closing down the fishery down the lower Columbia, that moves guys up here. I've been to meeting after meeting, the Department of Fish and Game, and the first thing they'll tell you, well, people won't drive that far to fish up there, that's crap. You drive that far every day, and a lot of them are professional guys trying to make a business guiding, that's why I protect them in my career. So the distance doesn't mean a thing to these guys, so we're gonna have them whether we like it or not. But you should have, as Pete said, something for residents compared to the people that come up here from elsewhere. If I go to Skamania County, I pay $75. If I was a resident in Skamania County, it'd be $35. So there's a difference. Something you might take into consideration. Then the other thing is, who's gonna patrol this thing? Right now, single cars, I mean, I've suggested that they have, where you have the long marking their vehicles with trailers on them. No one's ever done that here. They do that everywhere else. You'll come in there somewhere, and there'll be a car parked in where a trailer should be, and there's only so much parking. I think you're gonna have trouble patrolling first off. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Joe.
Joe Wampler, WAMPLER, 1043 22nd Street, Hood River. I'm like her, I'm a third generation Hood River resident and retired guy, which is part of why I'm here is I have a boat. I'm a what you call a subsistence fisherman, and seasonally come down here and use the boat ramp. And I think you really need to know who those people are. And Herb kind of mentioned it. There's a bunch of old guys, mostly old guys, actually, I think, and that are again the resident thing. I kind of had this $10 a day up. If I came here every day for a month, that kind of makes my shoulders roll a little bit. And I have to remind you that different from some of your other users, I pay other fees, licenses and boat fees and fish and game licenses. But the boat fees, I just want to remind you that a lot of those fees are designed to come back to you. So that you can reuse those for improvements. And so I don't want to be paying for too many things over and over again. I want to remind you that. So anyway, I'm really kind of concerned about the price. That may be come down because my deal is a seasonal deal. I'm not a year-round user, but when I do, I'm down here almost every day for a month and a half maybe, and the price you're proposing is somewhat of a concern about. So anyway, that's all I have.
Thanks, Joe. Amy.
Thank you. My name is Amy Schlappe. I'm actually here to just give a general public comment and not specifically the ordinance. But I am the executive director of Hood River County Transportation District. We do business as Columbia Area Transit, or CAT. We have had a long partnership with the port and have worked for a long time on several different projects, including our year-round bus stop at First and Riverside, our seasonal bus stop for the Gorge Mountain Express service at the event site, as well as temporary bus stops at the event site for when there's different special events. We are, and we have also really appreciated Jen's participation in our stakeholder interviews, as well as our technical advisory committee for our transit master plan that we are actually working on finalizing. And one of the main reasons I wanted to come here tonight. Our second public hearing is tomorrow at our board meeting, so it's at 4 o'clock tomorrow. Our draft plan is available at engagecatbus.org. And you can submit comment via email to me at amy@catransit.org. Or you can also attend our public meeting as well. We're hearing to submit. So a key component of our plan is mobility hubs and connectivity throughout the region. And we look forward to continue working with the board to implement the transit master plan. Specifically working with staff to include transit at the lot 1 redevelopment, as well as in the transit oriented development toolkit. And this was there, so I'll make sure everybody was aware of this. We didn't include this, but it was meant as a conversation starter more than anything else. We did identify a port property on Highway 35 and William Creek Mill Road as a potential opportunity for a mobility hub. Now, for those who might not be as familiar with the mobility hub term, it would be a transit stop that would offer other amenities as well, depending on the site. So there could be a parking lot, there could be a bathroom, there could be van pool options, there could be car sharing or bike sharing, etc. That's really kind of an endless opportunity of creating connections via transit and other modes of transportation. So yes, anyways, I just wanted to come here and let you know about those different things, as well as to encourage and urge you to remember that public transit does exist in Hood River County. We are here, and we are an important tool to help mitigate traffic congestion and other issues that you guys are facing at your different properties, and especially as you're looking at redeveloping those properties. So just wanted to put that little bug in your ear. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Amy. Forgive me for mispronouncing your name, Thea.
You're forgiven.
Say it correctly. Sorry.
My name's Mattia.
Mattia.
I'm by McKenna Lane. And I too would like to just talk about, I haven't done as extensive research as perhaps some of these other gentlemen have on the fees that are coming up, but I tell you what, it was just so disheartening to hear like, oh my goodness, people have to pay for parking in one more spot. Because I will come down and I will specifically park in a space so that I can travel and meet friends and just use the trail system. And now I feel like, okay, now I get to pay for my exercise. This was like a good free spot. So I would have to just say I was a little bit disheartened to hear that. But again, like it's been said, like we understand. And so if this really is something that's going to go through, which I think is on your agenda tonight to vote on, could you please consider again, some sort of reduced rate for Hood River residents at least, right? Because I know that we still get the income from the tourists. It's just one of those things during certain times of the year, people just come here. They came here during COVID, even just because they could, and it was a nice place to use, and we won't be losing that. So just please consider the residents. It's you know, because, and I mean, I was even went to Kingsley and I was like, let's, here we go, here's another fee. You know, as soon as like for Mother's Day, I'm like, here we go. Okay, let's just pay. And I have to say, I do avoid downtown more than I really should. And love it when it's Christmas time and we get that free parking because of parking fees. So I'm one of those people, I'm just drive around until I get that 10-minute spot so I can just into the library and return my book and back. So if you guys can just help us out, everything that seems to be going up would be fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you. Vince?
Good evening, my name is Vince Wilson at 8210 Park Hill. I've been here about 20 years. I'm kind of on the same note here, talking For the vote this evening, I would hope you would, I'm here to talk in opposition of the vote. Not because I'm in opposition to generating funds for the parking, but I think the method of collection is one issue. And the fee schedules that everybody else has talked about. And so hopefully, in summary, I'd ask that you vote no, just so that you can look at a revision to the vote. Hopefully to include, all of the comments that have been brought up tonight. It's ironic, we're talking this evening on election night, everybody's voting right now, ballots are hitting over there, and before I came down, I looked at my tax record, and there's an actual line item for the Port of Hood River on there. And it's, to be honest, it's a ridiculous amount of money on there, it's very small, so while I appreciate that. I do think that that's an avenue that's on there, it's already been established, and that gives the county residents the means of actually weighing in on these policies that are being considered. That's the way that we get to say about where our money's being spent. You guys already have a line item, so I don't have the background on why we're taking this particular direction, so I'm speaking a little bit out of ignorance, but I do know that you have a line item on the tax base, and so I would ask that you make your argument to the people, and if the money is needed, and I do think it's needed, then make your argument to the people, put it out there and let us vote on it. The school boards have to do that, libraries have to do that, everybody has to make their case to the people on why they want the money. And I think if it's a good argument, and if you say these are the reasons why we need it, then generally, most people are sane, not everybody, and they will probably vote for it. And so I would ask that consider kind of what's already in place on how we do revenue generation. If you decide to do it, through, and whether it's an administrative vote or not, I think that starts to bother residents. So it's almost like we're trying to hide the way that we're collecting money from the residents. So we'll get you a little bit on our tax money here, and then we'll get you when you go over the bridge, and then we'll get you when you park down there, to go have a beer, and now you want to go fishing. So we'll get you. And people don't like getting fees from all kinds of different areas. It seems disingenuous. And I know your mission statement that he talked about was transparency. I am not here thinking that is going on, but the perception is why are we getting hit on all these different areas? If you need money for the Port of Portland, put it out to us, tell us how much you need, and let us vote on it. And then you can possibly get more money for everything that you need for the port, right? So I have a concern on how you're actually going about raising the money. The second part is the fee schedule. I don't think I can say it as eloquently as everybody else has here. The fees are exorbitant. It seems like, as Pete said, we're paying tourist rates. The river opens up for salmon fishing, but in the Bonneville Pool, and the residents here fish the Bonneville Pool, it's close to us. I know that's not your decision, but it's close to us. So if we want to fish, we're spending additional money to drive to other places. When our home waters finally open up, now there's going to be this $15 a day parking fee. And that just seems kind of like right on top of everything else. I'm not advocating for a zero fee. I'm asking that let's try to be in line with what else is happening along the Columbia River on the fees. And I do think from a, we get a lot of guide boats that come in. It's good and bad, right? We compete with them. Most of the other places, they charge about $270 for guide fees because they bring in the volume. That's a revenue stream. So I don't advocate for user fees for residences because we're paying through taxes. I do think if you bring in outside tourists, that there could be a fee for that. I think the guides are used to that fee structure. So if you were to consider a fee structure that's in line with the rest of the river, the guides would also consider that. If you have a $15 a day, they're here before 6 a.m. They're on the river, they do 8 hours. So each guide boat has about 6 people in it. So if you figure 4 to 6 cars of customers, then if they don't come here and fish, you're losing $30 to $50 a day in all the additional parking that the guide boats are bringing in. If you have a reasonable fee structure, I do think if they have to do an extra $60 a day, and then they're just going to go down and look at that. So I think revenue generation can be generated from the guide boats, but it's got to be in line with what's going on. They also stop at all these, at the Starbucks, they stop at the Shell and all these other areas, and they do pump some money into our economy here. So I think that the decisions you make here will impact a little bit of the actual business space here. To what degree, I don't know. So I would ask that if you're voting on this evening, to vote no, not because we're saying no to no money, but we would hope you would reconsider the structure on how you go about it and the impact to the residents, and hopefully come up with something that's in line with everything else and more reasonable to the residents. Thank you.
Thanks. Vince. All right, last one. Is it Jason or Jackson? I sorry, I can't read it. Jason, please.
Not good enough writing for you?
Hey, better than mine.
Jason Johnston, I live on Miller Road, Parkdale. I'll probably bounce around in 8,000 spots, but it's kind of maybe beating a dead horse because it's similar stuff. But I feel the fee structure is one of the strongest fee structures. I'm not advocating against a fee structure because I do understand every place we go. I mean, I don't think there's anywhere you can walk within 100 yards out here to not get a fee of wherever you're gonna go at, whether it's a national forest or anything. But the fee structure and the prices proposed are in line with Hood River County as everything else is. The highest, most expensive living you can possibly afford anywhere in the state of Oregon. So I don't think that that's quite right, especially I've seen a big increase in different diversities trying to fish out here and learn our fishing that all of us are used to fishing in the fall. I only fish the fall evening. It's only time to fall fishing. I bring the kids down. We do expect to try to get food for home, not just an enjoyment to go out a boat ride. So it just adds another, 15 to 20, $20 onto it. So I do think that there can be a structure. And so trying to add that onto the different dynamics, because not everybody has a $80,000 truck and a $50,000 boat to go out here fishing. There's a lot of people that are starting to really pick up and realize that there is some good food to eat out there and an enjoyable time. But if you add another fee onto it, it's gonna make it hard. I'm not advocating it against not, because we do have to keep things maintained. But just kind of re-looking at the structure. So I'm advocating either for a no vote or a table it to redo the structure. Because on the other point with that, I do feel that it's almost a punishment to live in Hood River County to be having to pay that fee and pay the taxes. So we inevitably, even if it's a few dollars or $20 or $50, are paying more than any tourist or any guide that comes from any other county or state. And they're coming from hundreds of miles. There's people coming forever. So we are actually ultimately gonna be paying more. And I definitely think there can be, even if it's just Hood River County residents, annual fee. Or a seasonal fee or different things, because I'm only gonna do 2 months in the fall. And so definitely a fee structure basis on that. With the other thing on it, and I don't know how many think this thing goes to it, but as far as liability, as with you guys policing and liability, if you're gonna charge one of the highest fees, is any liability on you guys? Because I've had my trailer hit out here. I know other people have had broken things out here. So is there gonna be any cameras, any policing? I don't know how many times I come down here when this place is packed and there's 6 cars taking up spots that are meant for boats, were built for boat trailers, then we don't get a stay. So there goes more of your fees right out the door, and adding on your fee that you have for misplacing, that doesn't quite actually match what you would actually potentially be getting. So it's just, there's a lot of different aspects to it of what's gonna be policed, what's gonna be managed. And I was along with feet too, I didn't quite get is my truck and trailer is over 20 feet. Does that mean I'm gonna be paying the 25 here? Or was it 25 or is it the 15 just in this lot still? So kind of advocating to figure out, right down to that. But also going with that this was built for boats. So do we actually need to be charged more because we are coming in with a boat? It was originally intended for that. So it's not like we're taking up extra spot that wasn't planned in the past when this was created. I do agree with the payment methods don't work unless you guys are gonna be manning this place at 5 o'clock in the morning. I try to do everything I can through cash and not through online apps and anything like that, just for security reasons. So I don't like doing text with any of that money. And so unless you're gonna have somebody here at 5 o'clock in the morning, because that's when most people start paying, or it's really easy to buy one of the booths that they bolt to the ground out there and you either swipe a card or put cash in. So I think that would be a little bit better fee option and a chance to try to curb some of the problems that we could have with that program. But I just made a bunch of my notes, so I didn't get as much investigation into this, but I do know that anywhere I have fished, anywhere else, this is the highest proposed fees that I've seen on any parking, even in national forest. So I believe that's all I got. Let me double check here. Nope, I think that's it. So thank you.
Thank you. Anybody that we missed? All right, appreciate everybody coming. All right, moving on, consent agenda. Any questions? Go, please, go ahead.
Mattia, you shut the back of that Suburban when you go out. Oh, yes, my son's fishing, he left back.
So noted.
All right, everyone's up on the consent agenda, just need a motion on that one.
Mr. President, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented to us.
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
As well, thank you. No, present, Kevin, ED.
Just, I did want to just bring to your attention. There is a schedule in front of you. Mike Shannon is actually joining us via Zoom. But this schedule is really to discuss the Bridge Authority's whole increase implementation. And Mike, I don't know if you're available, but I think the two things that we need to bring to your attention are the two open houses. So so Mike, if you're available, do you want to just touch on the schedule and then talk a little bit about the open houses and how the members of the commission could participate?
Yep, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
So we did just a real quick update. We did just get off the hearing for the House Bill 3622 in Oregon. Just actually got a text right as I was turning on my camera. McLean was able to get the bill through with all three amendments adopted, and it moved forward unanimously. So hopefully that is a good sign. Don't know how that plays into all the other things that are going on with Oregon, but that at least was one good step forward. So
Mike, let me interrupt. That's the 20 million plus some words.
that was the 20 million plus the three amendments, the last one, which was the one that they wrote up with the whereas clauses.
Okay, thank you.
So on the open houses, there are two open houses scheduled. One is on the 31st. The second is on June the 7th. I got to pull up the announcement. I'm sorry, I forget which one was which.
White Salmon is on the 31st.
So yes, so White Salmon is on Wednesday, May 31st. It is at the White Salmon Library. It will be from 4:30 to 7 o'clock on Wednesday, June the 7th. The open house will be in Hood River at the May Street Elementary School gym. Again, that will be from 4:30 to 7. I think the way, if you would like to attend, it would be nice to have support on both sides of the river if possible, if you can attend one or both of the events. We will be doing some sessions where we'll go over some frequently asked questions and updating those who will be attending on current status on the project. So we can include you in those. And then we will be doing a walkthrough of just how things will be organized and set up. We'll have approximately about 15 boards at the events, just there for informational and to provide the opportunity for the public to come in, ask questions, understand the reasoning for the toll adjustments, and get input into the two scenarios that we will be putting in front of them, which you saw a couple meetings ago. So with flyers, handouts, media releases are all in the works and will be going out over the next week. So if you have any other questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Yeah, so I'm gonna be going to the one over on the Washington side. I won't be in town for the June 7th. And we're hoping that we can get a commissioner or two to make sure that they're covered on the Oregon side.
Commissioner Chapman and I'll be there.
Okay, great. And if anybody else wants to go across to the White Salmon one, you're more than welcome. And I think it'd be really good if we could get at least one more commissioner to go across to the Washington side.
What day of the week is it?
Mike, what day is it? 31st?
Wednesday, May 31st, from 4:30 to 7.
Then the next Wednesday, said
Wednesday.
Yeah, they're both Wednesdays. Oh.
Think about it. Okay, great. Thank you, Mike.
Yep.
So, and then just continuing on with the ED report, I think the only thing that's really worth bringing to your attention is just the homeless camps, the abandoned homeless camps. And, you know, the only way that people can really get there is by crossing the railroad tracks. And so, you know, I do feel compelled to go ahead and have a biohazard company clean that up, and that we just need to kind of monitor it as people are doing the rounds at the tip of the hook. You can kind of see across, and we'll just have to monitor that. But what I don't want to have happen is that just have these things keep cropping up every couple of weeks after we pay to have them cleaned up. But I think it makes sense to do it at least this first time and see if we can't tamp that down.
When you do the bio cleanup,
Yeah.
it's a lot more expensive. Do we have an indication that we need that for this?
Well, I did walk around there with facility staff and actually with the biohazard company. There's a lot of black bags. And so short of going into those bags, it was kind of hard to see exactly what we were up against. I didn't visually see anything just laying out there, but as those pictures show, there's depths. I mean, it wasn't like we went rooting through the piles.
Does the county do the same thing?
No.
Do they go right to bio, or do they have some kind of guidelines that maybe we could,
Yeah, I could certainly.
because I know once you go
yeah.
bio, it's
It's a different,
a lot more expensive.
different ballgame. So
$2,300.
it is, I think with it, it could get up to just under 3,000. Yeah. And we did try to.
I wouldn't worry about it.
Yeah, exactly.
And we did reach, you know, I did try to talk to Friends of the Parks group, but the problem is it's not like a easily accessible public area. And so they're focused more on those areas where there's a lot of high volume traffic for recreators.
Do we have something in place to address this issue down the road for our facility staff? How they're gonna address it? How are you gonna address it? Law enforcement, do we have that in place?
I think what we're gonna do is as staff goes down and is monitoring the hook, you can make visual sight and you can
How are we
actually
gonna
see.
enforce it, or how
And if we see a tent or something starting to crop up, that's when we get on the horn with the police.
so that's law enforcement.
Exactly. Until we get our security contract and, you know, they'll have irregular visits out there because they won't have the same schedule all the time. It'll be changed up. But I think a combination of Hood River Police and our security contract, you know, it's not 100% for sure, but I think that's the game plan.
So under the current contract with the security company, that they are gonna address that area.
That would be
An add-on.
That would be an add-on.
Okay.
Yeah, because it is kind of hard. The only way you can get there is by crossing the UP tracks.
Is there any potential for having a camera? That we can.
You know,
mount on
I don't
the-
know if
by
there's
the
any
sanitation?
electricity out there.
There is not.
Yeah,
Anything by the sanitation?
There-
City?
there is- Well, there is, but it's railroad, it's the railroad's electrical, and they're not gonna let you touch that.
Is there visual from the sanitation plant?
It's
Use their
actually
source.
better from the hook.
yeah.
Okay.
That's where you're straight across from it there. You can see it very well from the hook.
So I just wanted to get that in front of you. I'm gonna go ahead and follow through. Just wanted to make sure that there wasn't any opposition to that, and I'll keep you posted on how it progresses.
Okay.
Other than that, I do want to announce that Ryan is our new facilities manager. So I did call Commissioner Shepherd and give him that heads up before I made the offer to Ryan. So as John is getting ready for retirement, Ryan will be taking the baton and running the more than running the cruise. He's been running the cruise for a while now, but we'll start getting into the management side of things. Ryan is also going to be participating along with Greg and myself in the State of Oregon procurement program. And so that'll be a nice certificate for all of us to have on board. And there's going to be other certificates and opportunities for Ryan and the entire maintenance crew to build up their skill set. So I'm really happy to have him along. So other than that, that's all I have as far as the EDs.
I'd like to, on your page 49, thank you so much for recognizing Mayor from White Salmon and myself, but there was two other people
That's true, yeah.
that should be recognized. Commissioner Anderson from Clickitat County went
Yeah.
down, and so did Mike Shannon from the bridge.
Absolutely. They took on the Senate side, is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, we split up. We took the House side and the others took the Senate side.
Perfect. So that's all of us. Are there any other questions?
Thank you.
I've got a couple questions for you if we could. On page 51.
Yeah.
The truss repair bids,
Oh, yeah.
we had one submittal. Have we done anything to figure out why we only got one?
I can answer that. We were really expecting to get a quote from Advanced American, who will already be mobilized on site, and Hamilton, who's already mobilized in the Dalles, but for whatever reasons, they didn't put in bids on this. It was Avi and Sabota, and we have worked with them in the past on this same kind of project.
Okay, so. Should we call the other two, not to influence this one, but to gain an understanding why they didn't? Is there something in our approach that they didn't like, or are they just got enough work? They don't need more work right now? What's the reason?
We were a little late. We were a little late. If we might have done better if we'd gotten that out, you know, a month earlier or something. It's just that summer booked.
Yeah, I would just encourage you to make the phone call. And doesn't cost anything, just see if they'll talk to you. And get that interchange going, then report back if you will. The other thing, since this is a sole source bid. Have you guys done anything associated with, how do you make sure that we're getting a competitive number and it's to the best interest of the public to go ahead and award this? Have you done an independent cost estimate or anything for it?
Well, just one thing. Chris, I don't know if would be considered a sole source procurement.
Well, no, I don't think it is either. But once we have only one bid. My experience is we typically do an ICE just to make sure that there's not something we didn't see that blows it way out.
We had our engineer take a look at the contract, which has bid items. And he did say that there were a couple, traffic control was really high. And that's understandable on our bridge. I'll bet he can't even get somebody here to do it when he actually tries. Other contractors have tried to do that, and they've had to come and contract that work with us because no flagging company will work on our bridge. So some of those costs are up there because it's a very difficult environment.
But that hasn't changed over the last couple of years. So the reason why I'm making a point about this, for future estimates, if it looks like this is going to be the new norm, we need to be planning for this in our budgets. That these things are starting to take off on us, and unless we can figure out how to get more competition. Or change the spec some way to give them some relief.
Yeah.
But I've
And
seen a trend in the last couple of them here that is not good.
If the board will remember, probably 6 months ago, maybe 7 months ago. We were coming into I was lining up a bunch of contracts that were gonna come to you. And I warned the board that we were in a very volatile environment, that bidding these and predicting costs it's nearly impossible right now. You can get roughly close, but you just never know when you're getting into one of those shipment things or a lack of staff to be able to do the work. And I think that's what we're seeing is people can't hire right now. They don't have enough employees to take on the extra work. So once they're booked, they're not even looking at other work where normally they would, because they would just go out and grab a couple more guys. They can't do that right now. So those employees are just not there.
I would say, Ryan, as you get more and more involved in position, be very careful with this one, and reach out into the industry and see if you can make some contacts and start to get the G2 of what's going on in the industry. So it's not, we're not reacting to it. We're trying to get in front of it.
Yeah.
Not to say that costs aren't going to go up, but we can predict them a little better. Okay, one other one, my favorite one. Where are we on buying the speed cameras for the bridge?
We have the speed cameras on the bridge and I didn't know that that was an actual directive.
Well, there's actually, this is actually kind of a timely issue because one of the limitations on us as far as doing it with the intent to ticket was that there's a finite number of cities that are allowed to do that. And so, but there's legislation that just changed that opens it up to everyone.
But remember,
Governor just approved it last week.
Oh, you're correct. It's very timely.
statewide, yeah.
Yeah.
but remember what we're really targeting for is the heavy trucks and the speeding of the heavy trucks. And we made a commitment to the industry that, hey, if your truck gets caught speeding across the bridge, your president's gonna get a phone call. And that's how I thought we were going to use this. We weren't gonna start handing out tickets. But we gotta take the heavy trucks and slow them down. And I tell you, they're out there right now.
Oh, I don't disagree with you at all, Commissioner Fox. The only ones, the biggest speeders we have right now on the bridge are the log trucks. No log truck follows the speed limit, not one, ever.
So
one.
that's why we need that speed camera, especially in the northbound lane. That's where they're typically loaded up. And I thought we got that approved to go buy a speed camera and get it installed.
No,
No, I don't think we do.
No,
And we can't enforce it anyway.
well, I mean, I guess that's the question. I mean, I don't know if we did any cost estimating. I mean, I think we got a cost for what it would to get the cameras, but not what it would take to
Back
install
office
it.
stuff in the back
And the
office.
back
stuff.
office stuff, so. You know, if there's consensus by the commission to do that, we can certainly put something together and. I don't know if
The thing
we'll
that's
have time
gonna
to bring it
tear
by
up
then.
our bridge, guys, are those heavy trucks. And we've got to figure out how to, we increase the load on the bridge. But with the heavy trucks, we're putting more pressure on that bridge. And if we don't get the funding coming through on the new bridge, I could very easily see a couple years slip on the new bridge.
Well, do you want to add this, to the action items? We can add it.
No, I'm not gonna add it to an action item. I don't know anything about it as far as costs, no.
Okay.
Or resolution. I mean, are we gonna spend X number of dollars and then what? I mean, if you wanna get a proposal together and get us information, sure, but no, it's not going on action.
I thought that's what we did. We asked for a proposal, but not actually purchase. I'm like, John, I agree with you. We talked about it. Want the staff to investigate it, but not to purchase. That's how I remember it.
Well, I think in the initial preliminary look at that, what was determined that we were going to be doing license plate recognition. We have to be tied to one of those state systems. Now, even if you're just recording the license plate, you have to be tied to one of those systems. You can't just record people's license plates. There's a procedure that goes along with that. I unfortunately don't know that. I know that it's bigger than just recording the licenses and going back and tracking it and going and having a talk with them. It's not quite that simple.
Well, the majority of these log truckers are independent contractors anyway, and so our only recourse, even if they had a company they were working for, would be to say, please slow down. Can't give them a ticket. So then you would be asking an independent contractor who's answerable to no one to please slow down, correct?
Correct.
You're right. I just don't know why they would listen to us.
Well, then screw it, take the speed limit off the bridge and because
I don't know how you enforce anything. I don't know.
I think we just start calling them. That's the only thing we can do. If we don't do anything, it just shows the public that. Go ahead. Nothing to do. And I think we even talked about this in the budget meetings. And it's a budget item in the current budget.
I don't remember this coming up during the budget. I mean,
It came up, but it was before that. I don't remember the exact. But let's go back and look and see what the instruction was, because it did come up, but it was before budget.
yeah.
Let's go back and see what the direction was, please, and
Yeah, I
We
mean,
can
we can, there's consensus by the board, not to, and I certainly apologize if this wasn't. If we didn't follow through on that from earlier, but if you'd like for us to get an estimate on. Purchase, installation, and the IT back of the house, we can certainly.
that's,
move
that's
forward.
just fine. Let's go back and see what the direction was and then bring it back to us
Okay.
when you do.
Gotcha.
Anything else on ED? All right, no commissioner committee reports. So with that, we can close the hearing for the second reading of Port Ordinance 27 and ordinance regulating conduct on port property. We have 4 action items. The first is an addendum number 2 to the lease with HRD. Greg.
Evening, Commissioners. This is in conjunction with Zone 6 turning into a paid parking. That's the end of Portway Avenue. Currently, or previously, it was used for LTL transloading. So when the decision was made, staff requested the opportunity to look into possible scenarios to keep that operations there in some form or fashion. If you looked at the map, it's a simplified map, but the goal is to remove some fencing, which would allow the eastern portion of the maritime lot to be used for transloading operations during the summer months. Then that operation would shift back onto the roadside during the winter months when it's plowed and it's less traffic. I spoke with HRD, I spoke with the trucking companies, and I've also spoke with Lions Club. And it seems like it's a valid plan. It's just to bring it back to request input from the commission on whether this seems like an operational function that we want to maintain down at that area of the port or for the waterfront, or if it's something we want to just negate in total.
It's a little bit different than the direction I remember. I remember ending that,
Yeah,
and there was
Yeah.
nothing said about making it seasonal.
yeah, and also too, that was with the other ED, and the other ED did not follow our instructions. That was to terminate that operation down there and to address it, and that never got addressed. And now we have this new format, which I am totally not aware of. I never discussed it. And I'm like Commissioner Shepherd, it was to go away and not be an option.
That's fair.
What's being used on the east side there?
Nothing. The port has the option to use that for whatever they determine. And in the wintertime, it's opened up to concessions overflow for their trailers and such, because they don't move in and out. This item really came up as it was informed to the trucking companies, the necessity for LTL transloading and the benefit it has for the cost of goods for our community. The worry is if they're unable to either find a location or find a spot where they can bring their carriers, which is 2 trucks together, they have to make multiple trips, which means a higher freight cost. Higher freight means a higher cost of goods. So this was simply to provide a scenario that could still maintain that function. And the decision was to decline to allow that for unpaid. And so this was just a scenario to consider if we wanted to still provide that month-to-month opportunity for a use agreement for LTL transloading.
And when I say if the commission isn't in favor of this concept, it fails or isn't, a motion's not brought up, and then we move forward to let everybody know that they're not going to be renewed. So there's nothing here that keeps the commission from not just clearly discontinuing the licenses for those trailers and trucks.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh, I hope you, what are your thoughts?
Well, this has been a kind of thorn on my side. I think, this is a situation that just kind of morphed into, oh, we're gonna be doing this, and now all of a sudden we're dealing with it. And I think it doesn't accommodate well with the other user groups down there. It's just not the right spot anymore. Either it's outgrown or we've grown or area around it. And I just don't think it's appropriate that we have these large semis down there. the last ED, we had it very clear, we wanted him to work with the user groups. To relocate them, but there was gonna come to a timeline that was gonna come to an end. And now we're stuck with it again, discussing this, which I'm frustrated with, but anyway, yeah, my view is. It doesn't work well with the future use in our direction as we have to move forward down there. It's just. It's a needed necessity. I think we should spend some time and effort to work with the user groups that are maybe being eliminated. But I think it's a wrong spot.
Commissioner Stryker will add that I vetted all other port property to verify if it was feasible, and the answer is simply not, and so. This
Thank you
was
for
the-
doing that. That was gonna be my question, something. Commissioner Fox, do you have any thoughts on that?
No, I tend to agree with the others that maybe when we first started this, it made some sense to have it down there, but with all the traffic that's down there and the use that's down there, having the semis parked on the street there, it's just not right.
Is there any interest by the commission to have the parking of the trailers on the lot all year round? Assuming that that would be available on like Works Park. I mean, if the map that you got it here in your packet is if that was available all.
We don't want, if the answer is no part-time, I'm guessing the answer is no full-time.
No, I was talking about off-street.
So am I.
Right, but the parking here on this map is off-street. It's actually on the east side of the building.
I think we're talking about on the waterfront, not just
Got it.
specifically on that.
Okay, that's a good
I think
clarification.
it's a traffic cell.
Yeah. That's good, because I think we were focusing on the street issue, not necessarily just the
Yeah.
waterfront.
Yeah, I
issue.
mean, it's a light industrial zone, you still have HRD with big trucks, you still have the Halyard, you still have all of those functions, and the 8th Street and that whole avenue is set up for those large trucks, and so.
We can't
It's-
control 8th Street.
Nope.
Okay. I don't think you're gonna get a motion on this.
Okay, dies for lack of emotion, so I guess we'll just let everybody know that
Certainly will.
it'll be discontinued, so, all right, thank you for that. Next item.
Next item is ordinance 27 itself. I don't need to do anything, go ahead.
Yeah, not a whole lot here. This has been, this was in front of you April 18th. The only comments to add is there's just some references in this version about fees being set by resolution. And then on page 72, staff added the addition of wing foils and e-foils to the types of watercraft. But other than that, everything else is the same. And so this is one of those where the first motion would be to conduct the second reading and to read ordinance 27 regulating conduct on port property by title only.
I think what I'd like to do on that is get each commissioner's thoughts on the ordinance itself, anything they think needs to be amended or changed.
If I could.
Yeah.
So ordinance 20 of the issues that you heard this evening are really focusing, check me on this, on the resolution on the rates and fees.
Yeah.
Not on the
No,
ordinance.
okay, okay, good enough. And so, as far as the ordinance is concerned, what I have to do is, and that would be item D.
Correct, actually B, let's start with B.
Excuse me, B, so that would be items, which one, C? I want to make sure we get this correct.
Yeah, well, the resolution D, you're right, D is the rates.
Okay,
Commissioner Shepherd, can we ask legal counsel to explain that to the audience that if we move forward with the ordinance reading, second reading, we still have opportunity to address their concerns? Is that correct?
yeah, and I think
I want-
basically,
Clarified.
if we approve this, that has nothing to do with the actual fees, we can change that.
Right.
Legal counsel, if you would, sorry, but
Yep, first on the agenda is to approve the ordinance itself. The ordinance makes reference to a resolution, they're separate, so this what is being considered. First is the structure of the ordinance, the amendments to the ordinance, and sort of like, for example, the exclusion policy that references a resolution. The resolution is separate, and the terms of the resolution are separate.
Thank you.
So with that, I was thinking about the ordinance, and that there's no questions or comment on that.
Just one comment I have in regard to, when it references the approved by the executive director. Is there anything in here that addresses in the event that he's not available? Who addresses that issue? Is that something we cover when he's not available, or is it should be in the ordinance itself?
I believe that that's addressed in another port policy
Okay.
chain of command.
Okay.
He had looked at that and had determined that that
We cover it.
general chain of command would control.
Thank you.
And if anyone would like to make a motion regarding ordinance 27.
I'm fine with it. I guess I could try, make a motion to.
Well, can I suggest one back?
Yeah.
So I would recommend that a commissioner make a motion to conduct the second reading and to read ordinance 27 regulating conduct on port property by title only.
So I
So move.
do what he said.
Don't move. Yes. I'll second
In a
that.
second. All right, all in favor
All right.
as well. Please.
All right, Daryl, you want to read the title?
Port of Hood River Ordinance 27.
An ordinance regulating conduct on port property.
Thank you. And now a second. Motion is needed.
So I would suggest that a commissioner make a motion to adopt ordinance 27 regulating conduct on port property.
So moved.
All in favor?
I,
I as well. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And we'll need to get notarized signatures,
Yeah.
Commissioner Fox and Shepherd afterward.
All right, next one.
Now we're on to D, and that's the fees and the information that we discussed earlier.
Okay.
You heard.
This is where I think each commissioner's on, since I get to go first, I'm going to. The vast majority, I think with, and excellent work, by the way, on this, Daryl and staff and whoever's, I mean, excellent work. As it relates to the couple of things that I think we can talk about and should. Personally, I don't have, and just so everyone knows, the days of the bridge subsidizing everything that we do down here are over. So my entire life, I know Herb's been here forever, before he left. We've been subsidized on everything we do down here by bridge revenue. That's all done. So the days of that costing $1, the days of us being able to park anywhere, do anything, use anything for almost nothing. And there's no property taxes. They don't pay for anything. That's less than $100,000. Those are unfortunately over because that bridge revenue is just gone. So we're all going to be paying to use. But I do think it should be fair as much as possible. And as it relates to the marina, I do think I can see where there could be some excessive charges there for a frequent user. And I'm not talking about a business, but a frequent user. If I frequent the event site, I have an annual pass that pays for itself relatively quickly. If I frequent the marina, that's not possible. So I think I would be in favor of the purchase of an annual pass also working in here. I'd also be in favor of ticketing or banning and getting some signage for any single family vehicle that is not towing a trailer parking in some of those spots where they shouldn't be. I don't know if a 20-foot limit is adequate for a boat and a truck, but if it's not, and they're parked in that spot and they're not sticking out, leave them alone. Those are the three things, but the big ones, I think we should think about an annual pass. Maybe sufficing for parking here as well.
If I may, can we enforce it? Can we do an annual pass?
Yes. Yeah. Do you want me to talk a little bit about maybe suggested amendments?
Please.
Okay, so, absolutely, we can set up an annual pass for the marina. The commission would want to set the price for that annual pass, but it is totally enforceable the same way that it is at the event site and the West Jensen parking lot by the exact same staff. Also, thank you for clarifying about the overlay price differential. The intention is for that to only apply to the event site and that there would be one rate in the marina. In terms of regular length vehicles, parking in a trailer space, we enforce for that already, and our ticketing system already has a violation for parking in improperly sized space, so that's totally doable. So a couple of amendments so far you might want to make is in section 2F. In the marina zone, we might want to, just like we do for lot 1, make the gravel lot at the DMV be overflow parking for the marina. So when you pay, you can park over there, and payment is required over there when this parking lot is full. Under section 4, the second paragraph, annual season passes are valid for parking in the event site, lot 1 overflow parking and West Jensen. You'd want to add the Marina Boat Launch parking lot and overflow.
So in that particular case, the annual pass used elsewhere for pickups, cars. You could use it for a boat trailer pickup.
Yeah,
over here.
you would have to determine if you wanted to make them interchangeable or specific to the lots. So right now, your event site parking lot a parking pass works at the event site, lot 1, and the West Jensen parking lot. It does not work on the streets. And it hasn't been suggested yet that it applies to the hook or to the marina. But it is one way that we've been able, with low overhead, to be able to provide a kind of a residency discount because it's a frequency of use discount. We really don't have the staff to verify residency. If you do want to make it residency based, we need to determine what residency is. Does that mean they have to have a Hood River address on their driver's license? Do they have to live here more than 3 months of the year? It's a lot to verify residency. So one way that we've been able to provide this sort of discount is just with an annual pass. That's the buyer makes a determination whether or not the value makes sense for them based on their frequency of use.
And what's the downside for opening up the annual pass for on-street parking as well?
Lost revenue. So the annual passes right now are pretty affordable for 365 days of use. A regular length vehicle pays $200. And an overlength vehicle at the event site pays $350. So you go from potentially charging $15 a day to $1 a day for that use. So the downside is lost potential revenue. Just to continue, in section 5D, we would probably want to add that the maximum is $15 per day or whatever rate you guys want to set for the marina boat launch parking lots specifically. And under section 8B, the payment methods, you would want to add that season passes are allowed as a payment method in a marina park.
Can I ask one more question, then my last comment, and then show it? If I choose not to know how to use this, or I don't have one, and I wake up at 4 o'clock to go fishing, how do I?
Yeah,
pay?
well, so 2 questions there actually. So if you're out in the water at 5 o'clock, how do you pay at 8 o'clock? And there's a prepayment option. So you can pay at 5 o'clock and your money doesn't start charging until 8. And if you're paying for the whole day, you're good actually to 11 o'clock when there's no parking allowed.
How did I pay?
On your mobile.
If
phone.
I
Yeah,
don't
so the
have that
second
ability.
question is, what do you do if you don't have a mobile phone? And we don't have an option for that.
Could someone come in here the day before and buy a pass for tomorrow?
Yeah, we can maybe devise a plan for that, or have it be after ticket, or something like that, yeah.
But the text option, you don't need a smartphone. So if you have a flip.
No,
phone,
you
you're
have a
in
flip
text.
phone, if you have anything that can send a text message, it should work. I haven't tested it on a flip phone. We were very worried when we first started in 2018, cashless parking. that it would be a huge problem because folks wouldn't have a way to pay without cash, and we really haven't experienced that problem. By and large, most of the folks do have a device that can handle this. There are always exceptions to that rule, and then we would hope that we would have a dispute process that would accommodate somebody for that, where if you get a ticket, say it's a $20 ticket for non-payment, you'd call and argue, hey, I didn't have the proper device. Maybe we'd only charge you the amount of the daily payment instead of the amount of the ticket, and that's something that we can do, and we can take the payment that way. It's a rare occurrence.
But then on cash system now allows credit cards, debit.
Yes. And the motivation to get rid of the kiosks, talk a little bit about that. And that's a cost avoidance for the port. We're trying to raise revenues and reduce costs. The parking kiosks are really designed for an urban street environment that's breezy and shady, not to stand in a scorching hot empty field all day long. They are constantly malfunctioning. There's only one field service representative that covers the entire Pacific Northwest. It's very costly to get him to come here and repair the kiosk. It's also a long way to walk to pay for parking. And so, you know, especially if you're already at the beach and your time runs out, the mobile payment option to add time is very, very easy. You don't have to get out of the water and run to the kiosk that's a mile away. You can just extend your time on the phone. So in that sense, we're trying to avoid hard costs with the kiosks that are really expensive to maintain. Really cause a lot of frustration for our customers when they overheat and they won't take payment. We get a line of people trying to pay and would much rather kind of eliminate that headache with a mobile payment option. So I think a combination of the annual pass option for frequent users would cut down on that, and a dispute process that would handle folks who can have the tech to do the payment. I think is totally manageable.
And then signage maybe that they can pay inside.
The part, I mean, it's just, we're not open on the weekends, and we're definitely not open in the morning.
It's just, it would be a lot. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it would end up being a lot, and then we would have to offer it other areas as well. So just keep that in mind with that, that's another thing when people can do that up.
I personally think that the daily rate here in the marina. For just anybody walking in with a boat and trying to use it, should not be $15 a day. It ought to be something more like $8. I think 15 is pretty excessive. And I think. You gotta clarify that it's. For basically any length of trailer, it's a boat trailer, it's not an RV trailer.
Right.
That rate applies to.
We just recommended it because the same rates that we have on all of the rest of the port property.
I understand, but I think fishing's a little different. The other thing I think we ought to strongly look at is a senior pass. So some of our seniors in the valley running pretty tight and everything's going way up. I see that. So maybe we ought to have a senior discount for, for parking. And I would say a yearly parking pass.
So the annual passes are a discounted pass?
I think you ought to look at it maybe even deeper for seniors. You're not talking that many, so it's not gonna, I don't believe it's really gonna affect
Across the entire port.
I do.
Right,
I do.
and so that would be something we could do for next year, but to bring that in for this year, we've already sold a bunch of event site passes. So if we do something like that, we should be consistent on all of the port property and not just have it in certain locations. And so. should apply.
I don't see a reason why you couldn't bring in a senior pass and you can't grandfather it in, but give them the option going forward. If they want to pay for the rest of the season as a senior, let them do it.
Well,
I
the
don't
problem
think
is
we
we've
should
already
just wait.
sold 400 passes The problem with that is we've already sold 400 passes. It would be tremendously difficult to issue refunds at this point.
I would say you've already bought it, you're done. But going forward, you got an option if you're a senior.
Maybe we can direct them to look into that, implementing that for next fiscal and. And
Well, I
part of the
think-
plan,
I think
as far as passes are concerned, you,
I would like to hear back from the board. You know, what's it really gonna take to implement all of this? And then what is the impact on the revenue? You know, if we adjust down the rate for the ramp to $8 a day. And all the other changes that we've talked about, what does it do to the revenue stream?
So, we don't have any study conducted informing this change. This change is motivated by a really accelerated schedule to get off tolls. So we don't have a traffic study that would tell you projections, you know, credible projections that we're gonna raise X dollars or lose X dollars based on a price range. This is something that, you know, we are building this as we go.
I get that,
So,
John.
yeah, yeah.
But I got a little problem with that. You know, we're asking folks to pay a bunch more money, but we really don't have a feel for what it's gonna generate.
Right, and so it's a choice between speed and accuracy. If we want to implement this in this fiscal year, we have to go with speed without accuracy. If you want to study.
Fiscal year starts.
Yeah.
You know, July 1.
Yeah.
Okay, so you implement it August 1, September 1. It doesn't have to be the beginning of the year.
how is somebody gonna prove on that app that they're 65 years old when they pay to park for the day?
That we would have to, and a way to verify the age. All of the other changes that you've listed besides the senior discount are easily implemented this year. The senior discount is, if you're not wanting us to verify age or residency, we can offer an annual pass. We can change the rate for the marina in section 4. You can add a sentence that the rate for the marina is $1 an hour up to $8 a day. That's easily done tonight.
You're gonna run into a problem doing that, though. That's, you're making it different prices for different user groups, and I'm not okay with that. I'd much rather go fishing than I would go down there on a hook and go winging, but I can't say that, so I don't care, you have to pay more. Should all be the same for every user group.
But then I think maybe we ought to take a good look at the other places. I mean, I know we're trying to raise revenue, but $15 for a day on a boat ramp, that's pretty high. In my opinion.
And an annual pass might be able to
Annual pass.
meet in the middle there, where an annual pass provides a significant discount to where essentially you're paying less than $1 a day.
Almost like buying a breeze by. If you're a local, buy a breeze by.
Sure. So what's the problem about senior discount? Is it okay and proper to show a driver's license? Can we take it off the driver's license?
Yes, you certainly can, but you need somebody who is, we need enough staff to manage that new volume of customers. So we have front desk staff open 9 to 5. We have 2 gals that are handling 30,000 breeze by accounts. This would be a tremendous rush of hundreds of season passes that need an age verification. It'd be easy to sell season passes the way that we do now online when we fulfill them through the mail if we're not verifying residence or age. It's just another step of overhead and administration that would be required. That in order to make it fair and to make it so you can't game that system, that maybe we don't worry about that part this year and we work on delivering a discount based on the buyer's perception of the value.
I'll agree with that if we all agree that we're actually gonna go do it for next year. I don't want to come back here a year from now and say, well, we can't do it this year, we're gonna have to do it next year.
The senior discount or
Right,
residency
senior discount. But I do believe the ramp. I guess we could use if we use the yearly pass on the ramp, that solves a lot of problems.
It really does. It's a large initial cash upfront cost, but after you buy your annual pass, you're done for the entire year through the fall run and.
Kevin, Genevieve and Daryl, is this time sensitive?
It is in a lot of ways because
Do we
we
have
are
a 2-week
implementing
window?
this, yes.
We have a 2-week window? Maybe a suggestion is to have staff go back after hearing the testimony tonight and try to implement suggestions back to us in regard to modifying this, that's something that they can actually implement and enforce and feel comfortable with the existing staff we have and bring it back to us next meeting. So we're not just kind of hodgepodging things.
If I could though, we've got signs, we have signs that are teed up, ready to be printed tomorrow. Based on this conversation, I mean, obviously, if there's a reason to stop, we will, but. You know, we're on the cusp of the season taking off, and so. To try to implement these fees with the old fees now, and then in 2 weeks or a month, implementing new fees, it's gonna create a lot of confusion. I think staff's recommendation is to try to make the dollar amounts. We can talk through these edits, approve the resolution as amended, as we discuss here, so that staff in the morning can call the sign companies and we can get these things up and we can start the season.
Outside of the veterans conversation or anything that we have talked about so far, any problem to implement by tomorrow?
The parts that will be tough will be the age verification, certainly veterans.
We said other than that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's correct.
We'll need to pay for a rush order on some passes. Daryl and I were thinking maybe we could just use some event site passes for the marina, but there's. Legal declarations of where a pass is valid on the pass. So we would just want to do a specific marina pass, I think, that explains where it's.
But that would be, will that marina pass be, and will that be good at the event site?
Well, that's up to you guys. If you want to make one Port of Hood River pass and then passes work at the event site or the marina.
I think if I'm paying for an annual pass, I should be able to park where I want.
I agree.
So, that would be my recommendation.
I'm sorry?
My recommendation would be one pass for all
Perfect.
spots.
Perfect.
Now, there is, can I clarify that a little bit, because there's $150 upcharge at the event site for an overland vehicle. That might not be appropriate in the marina because the marina is built for spaces for boats with trucks with boat trailers. So do you want to, let's talk about the price of the annual pass for the marina. Do you want to make it a $200 pass or a $350?
I think you make it the lower pass, lower rate pass, and then if you catch one of them with a marina pass with a trailer on it in the event site, they get a ticket.
Okay, so that's if you have if you want to have one Port of Hood River annual pass for the event site, West Jensen and the marina. Then.
Charging the marina, like I was going to the event site, it's the same thing. They're coming down to recreate here, I'm going down to recreate over there, should be the lower of the two.
The lower of the two.
But with the stipulation that don't get caught using it somewhere in a way you shouldn't. I mean, if you just take your truck over to the event site and park it with the marina pass, fine.
Okay.
But if your trailer's on there, it's a ticket.
Yeah, so that makes sense. So if the pass is in the pickup, it's a regular lake pass. When our parking enforcement officers are patrolling the marina, they won't ticket a truck with a trailer that has a regular lane pass displayed.
Where?
Here in the marina.
Correct.
If they're patrolling at the event site and there is any vehicle that has a regular lane pass and an overlane pass, I forget what the ticket amount is. It's a pretty hefty ticket for right size. So that would probably work just fine.
Sounds fair. Sound fair?
I think standardization is the way to go for enforcement and for fairness.
If you can implement those, is that okay?
Yeah.
If you can implement those by tomorrow, I think you have consensus to do that.
Do you want me to go ahead and just review these edits one last time with you, just so you know what? So I'm gonna go ahead, because I was taking notes.
Yeah.
Let me go ahead and walk them through that, and you let me know if I got anything wrong. So on page 79. Section 2, paid to park zones and hours. Item F on the marina zone, we would add that the gravel lot is overflow. agreement there?
With the same parking fee requirements.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. And then on page 80, section 4, parking rates and fees. The second paragraph, annual season pass is valid for parking in the event site, lot 1 overflow parking. West Jensen and Marina and overflow parking lots.
I think you need to fix that for vehicles up to 20 feet.
Right,
For the marina,
right.
it's whatever the trailer length.
So we'll clarify that it's a truck, any vehicle towing a trailer. is
trailer.
that.
But if somebody's 25 feet, they're not gonna get pinched, right? I mean. If they're not blocking the parking lot, I don't, again, I don't know how long a truck with a boat on it is. How long is?
So my truck's probably 24 and I've got probably, if the boat's on the trailer, it's another 24 feet, but they all fit in the spots.
Yeah.
Your spots are about 50 feet.
So as long as it's not sticking out, I don't think you should. Okay.
And that's the same thing at the event site, you know, it's a 20-foot vehicle fits in the regular length spot, but if you add racks and things on top, you're all of a sudden you're an overlength vehicle.
I just don't like the way it's worded.
Yeah.
Somebody
Yeah.
could come up and write you a ticket.
Yeah, right.
Hope you fix that.
Right, so so do we want to just have it then that fits in the designated parking lot?
In the right spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that work? Designated parking length? Okay. Then going into page 81.
Well, before you go
Oh,
on, you
yep.
want it in section 5 on page 80, section D, we want to spell out that it's a maximum $15 per day, not 25. If somebody chooses to pay daily,
In section 5D,
yeah. For the marina specifically, we want a sentence that says the marina has a maximum of $15 per day for all sizes vehicle. Versus the 25 for the overlength of the event.
for all vehicles.
That's a good clarification.
Now,
Are we, I don't see that in 5D.
It needs to be there.
Yeah.
Not there now.
so that's what, so it finishes up, over 20 feet in total length are allowed, period. Then we'll do maximum $15 per day. Marina max for all vehicles. So that's the longer vehicles.
Okay.
It's $15 a day max.
And then section 8B. You want to add marina parking lot, annual pass option allowed
Oh, okay, yeah.
And overflow.
and overflow, right? And I think that would do it.
And then D, 8D, was that season pass allows for parking in boat?
8B.
8B, okay.
Payment method, event site parking lot, lot 1 and West Jensen parking lot, marina parking lot and marina parking overflow.
Perfect.
Annual season pass option allowed in these lots.
Do we need to add anything under payment method about? I would love the ability to buy something. Before I went home tonight, if I knew I was going out tomorrow morning, if I was just going for one day,
We do sell annual passes over the.
and then like a day pass, if I want to fish tomorrow morning. Can we put something there where I can come into this office during business hours and purchase something for tomorrow, and I can put it in my truck
For
if-
$15.
for $15, if I'm just coming down for the day.
Okay, so. What would we think for that would be? Normally, we would have that in the same paragraph that we previously had the event site booth kids could sell a day pass, and that's gone out of this resolution, so I have to think about where we would put that.
And if we're opening that up, then are we doing that for the other locations as well?
Something for you guys to think about, because I don't think it's gonna be pretty rare at the Hook. Someone's not gonna roll in from Portland early the day before just to say, I wanna go sit down at the beach, but I can see plenty of times where people that might only go fishing 2 or 3 or boating a few times a year, any kind of boating, might come down and buy that for the next day. And especially if they're going out at 4 a.m. No one's going, wakeboarding at 4 a.m, but.
Yeah, but if, again, I feel like the technology barrier can be dealt with after ticketing.
And it would be much lower overhead.
Yeah.
So if somebody, first of all, if somebody gets a ticket, right? So if you don't have the technological ability to make the payment, it's not guaranteed you're gonna get a ticket. It's likely that you are, but you might not. If you get a ticket, we have a dispute process where you can say, hey, my phone wouldn't do it, and we could accept your day pass payment then instead of the ticket payment. And that might be much lower overhead on our front desk folks.
I
is
think
to
you're
handle
right.
it through
Just,
the-
nobody likes seeing a ticket and having to.
Yeah, right,
If there's a way that they can proactively, no, I want to pay and
Right.
proactively have that option.
Sure.
Or just make it really, really easy, and if they get the ticket, like, hey, call this number tomorrow, and we'll take care of it.
Right.
Whenever you feel like it,
Yeah.
you know? I just want to make it easy, not a hassle.
So with those edits, does that sound good then with those edits?
But have we clarified Vin's question in regard to the daily payment? I don't think we clarified that, have we?
So where
You know,
that would, well, that's what I think, what is
so we
that?
need to add section 8D. That marina boat launch, day pass. $15 day pass sales are available during regular business hours at the port office.
But I think you're gonna have a problem for people, why can't I have my event site daily? You know, I kind of like Genevieve's approach that, you know, most people do have access to a flip phone or something in text. I really do. And maybe we try it this way. And if there is a lot of complaints or a lot of people that are upset with us, then we maybe add it back into the resolution that they can come into the office and pay.
Yeah, it's hard when just trying to treat every user group exactly the same. And there's an example of user groups that operate at different times. Some are during business and some aren't.
Right.
And, but I understand what you're
We're
saying.
not 24/7,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I think we're trying to work with the public and the local residents. But I think Genevieve's approach is probably will give us some good information. And we can adjust it as we go down that road.
And it is spelled out in the resolution that it's annually reviewed by the commission. So again, the ordinance refers to the resolution. The resolution can be changed at any time. We can be flexible about this. These recommendations come to you motivated by your goals to get off bridge tolls for waterfront recreation by 2026. So admittedly, they are aggressive. Admittedly, the rates are high. And it's an attempt to move those goals.
So am I correct in thinking and saying that, hey, we implement this helps bring in some additional revenue. It doesn't mean to say that we're not gonna go and try and increase our tax rate.
Exactly. Yeah.
And if we can in fact make that happen, we would come back and take a look at this and possibly lower it back down.
I'll set it, you bet.
Absolutely.
That could even be a marketing tool as part of the.
I think that's specifically why the two are separate, so that you could come back and revisit.
The problem with the tax rate, it's gonna take over a year to get it in place.
I didn't know you got a new here.
So, but yes, rates can go up, they can come down. If, for example, the longer term. This is a very short fix, or a very short term attempt to get closer to that goal. If a partnership with the River Valley Parks and Rec, for example, or operating level passes or some other revenue comes in. The port is not a for-profit agency or government agency. We can balance those things out. But right now, we're at a place where in order to achieve those goals, the quickest way to raise revenue is to have fees paid by the users of the facilities that we are trying to fund.
One last comment that I've got is, we go ahead and do this. In a reasonable period of time, I'd like to hear back from the port. What do you think the impact of this is going to be on revenue?
Yeah, Debbie will be giving you reports.
Mhm. Absolutely. Okay, so we are. Which one are we on? Kevin, can you read the?
Yes, I can certainly,
language, please.
help out there. So staff is
There it is.
recommending that Commissioner make a motion to approve resolution number 2022 20 or 23-24 dash.
I'm sorry. It's 22-23, right?
We're
Okay.
still in
I
22,
apologize.
23. You're
I thought
okay.
I thought I was doing pretty good.
Never mind, never mind.
So let me start. Approve resolution number 2022-23-12, setting waterfront parking rates, fees, zones and hours
With,
So I'm not. gonna-
as amended.
as amended.
Thank you. So I recommend that we do approve resolution 2022-23-12, setting waterfront parking rates, fees, zones and hours as amended. In the meeting.
I'll second it.
In favor?
I-
I as well. Passes.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there a question and comment period prior to passing the resolution?
There is not, unfortunately. If you have a question though for staff, they can get you any information you need.
Well, no, just like your point about getting passes the day before. I mean, when Oregon State ODFW closes week 10, opens this up, we had 100 boats out here one day. And they didn't know they were gonna be here the day before. Same thing with closures, they can close it overnight. So it's really hard preemptively know what you're gonna do.
And we're gonna look into it. We don't have the ability to change our staffing all the way, as we go immediately
No,
just for that.
sure.
So, but this will be an evolving process.
But so there's questions about, Skamania County has been doing this for a long time, and you guys talked to them, correct?
We're not, I'm sorry, we can't do back and forth there. If you have questions for staff, they'll get you anything you need. We're gonna do our best here to make this
So you passed.
Workable for everybody.
And without the input, correct? Okay. Oh, somebody told me it was at 5:30. Wow, bummer.
East Anchor Way is next.
Evening again, commissioners. This is generally just procedural. This goes back to our November 15th, 2023 work session. Where the commission directed staff to develop an RFP to go out for bid for East Anchor Way and First Streets CE Design Services. That was reviewed on January 24th and it was issued on February 13th of 2023. One firm came back, KPFF, which their proposal was reviewed by 4 individual reviewers. They scored relatively highly on the scoring system. So essentially, this is just a request to enter into negotiations. There's no dollar amount at this point. There's no approval of said contract. This is just the opportunity to continue the conversation to negotiate what that contract's going to look like. And so there's not a whole lot to report. This, like I said, is just procedural and to make sure that we are tracking along the procedures and the protocol that we're assuming is what the commission would desire.
So similar question for you. We only got one bid coming back. How many did you expect?
Well, we had 4 firms that came to the mandatory meeting. So we had hoped to get 4 back, but we only got 1.
And have you contacted the other 3?
Interestingly enough, there are individuals on the team from those other firms that are part of the program for KPFF. So it looks like they partnered with 2 of the 3, I'm sorry. Yeah, 2 of the 4
Yeah,
firms.
they switched around and came up with a team.
Yep.
But you don't have any G2 why that took place.
Not necessarily, I think because KPFF was the original, they did the 10% design plans. So it was assumed that they're already well ahead of the other firms. So
After your pre-meeting, I assumed you'd get one big kind of, but just from the conversations, it seemed like they were gonna big, so kind of ahead.
and so it feels like we're getting the best of both worlds because we've got individuals from 3 of the 4 firms to take a
What
look at
was the
this.
engineer's estimate for the work?
The engineer's estimate, I don't, off the top of my head, I don't know that we had one because the one that we originally had was from 2019. I want to say it was right around the 500,000 mark, and so it still tracks. Sorry, I don't have that off the top of my head as far as the engineer's estimate for the engineering itself.
Greg, I think there were two quote, preliminary cost assessing. There was one for Anchor.
Yeah.
And then there was the one for First. And they were kind of done separately, but if you added up the, 15%, set aside for the
That's
engineering.
construction.
Right, but the 15% from construction cost was the engineering.
We have not received an estimate, engineer's estimate for construction.
Well,
The
that was
engineer's
the,
estimate was to build, not to design.
right, but if you take the construction, a lot of times for a placeholder, they'll do 15% of construction. It will be the preliminary cost estimate number for engineering is 15% of construction. And so I think there was that line item. I thought when we added those two numbers, they were like closer to 900,000.
Yes, well, there was two separate projects, so.
Correct, and
yeah.
so you're getting some benefit
I think
by
what we're
merging both
saying
of them.
is we really don't know. I mean, we're trying to remember, but we don't know. I would just suggest going forward, make sure that homework is done when you come in here. Especially when it's not sole source. I get that. I understand that. But when you have a single bid, how do you convince yourself that you've got the right deal for our community? Not just because you only get one bid. How do you try and make sure that you've got a reasonable number? That's why sometimes you do a nice, but
Yeah, it gets difficult when the firms that would perform the ice were part of the bidding process, or at least showed up initially, so.
or you
Yeah.
gotta go find another item.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, okay, thank you.
Nothing further, someone could make a motion.
I move that we approve notice of intent to proceed with negotiations with KPFF Inc. For East Anchor Way North, First Street Utility Design and Engineering Project.
Second,
That's it. That's fine.
in favor?
Aye.
I as well. Thanks, Greg.
Exciting.
Joe.
Commissioners, I wish I had a little better news from my last project to present to you, but this one came in pretty high. I think as we discussed earlier, I think what we're seeing is you just don't know when you're in one of those markets right now. And I think it's very difficult for engineers to hit those estimates right now, regardless of what you do. And I think you could put this particular work off for another year and maybe take it out next year and do a little better. But if you try to rebid this year, you will only do worse. My experience has been that you'd never, ever do better the same year. If you were to say that it's outside of budget and close this, then that's different. The contractors see that differently. But if we just close this because we thought the bids were too high and we'd take it back out thinking we would do better, you will do worse. There are contractors just waiting for you to have to do that. So my recommendation is to move forward with Avi and Sabota at the 460. I think we have a good relationship with them, and I believe more that it's our engineer missing quotes right now more than it is the contractors are giving us. I believe we're seeing pretty good quotes. I think it's just really a difficult market right now for our engineers to estimate. So I'm happy to answer any questions anybody might have.
Is this scope very specific now? And is it a fixed price for this particular scope of work?
Yes, it is.
Or is it a time and material?
No, it's a fixed price, not to exceed.
Yeah, no, not to exceed is a funding thing. It has nothing to do with the contract. That just puts a
I don't
funding-
know
that
what
just
you
puts
mean
a-
by that. I
Yeah.
disagree.
Let me-
I have a not to exceed written
Back
into the
up.
contract.
Not to exceed says you cannot exceed this amount. It says nothing about, and you gotta get all the work done for that amount.
Of course it does.
Unless
Of course it's
the
tied,
scope of work
all the
does that.
specs are tied to the
Yeah.
contract. That is one of the most
Scope of work says
ridiculous
that.
things anybody's ever said to me. I'm sorry, that is ridiculous.
We'll see. Okay,
Anybody want to make a motion?
Need a motion?
Yep, please.
The motion to authorize award of contract to Opke and Sabota for the miscellaneous bus repair project in amount not to exceed $460,928. And authorize the executive director to sign the contract, subject to legal review and barring no protest.
All in favor?
I,
I as well. Thank you, John.
Thank you, commissioners. Thank you.
All right, Paige. All right. Commissioner call, Commissioner Strike,
I have nothing.
Commissioner Fox.
There's a few of us going to DC on Monday through Wednesday of next week. To continue to work on trying to get federal funding. We'll let you know how that works out, but I think we've got a good news story. We've been a little better with Oregon, but I think we still got a good news story that we can tell.
Look forward to hearing about it.
I just like to say, John, thank you so much.
Thank you,
You
Obi.
deserve this. You've treated us well. You've served us well.
Thank you
and,
very much, Obi. I
hold
feel
you-
the same about you. It's been a pleasure working with the board.
Yeah, hold your
I'm
head up.
sorry about my grumpiness at the end here, but there's just some things that I just can't hear over and over. And
I just couldn't stand waiting to give it to Ryan on that high bid. He went to be your last. thing. Was it Ryan's first?
we've worked very hard at getting Ryan ready for this. I really had it set up so that the last 2 weeks of my work was really just helping him understand what was next with the projects and setting up cooperative agreements with our engineers to help really be his mentor through the first few projects. With the training he's got coming, you guys have hit a gold mine, I'll just say that. He's been an absolute pleasure to work with and he's always there for me and he will always be there for you as well.
Like I said, I think I speak for the whole board, but thank you.
Yeah.
Best of luck.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Commissioner Gaines? I'll just echo that. Thank you for everything, John.
Thank you.
Enjoy yourself.
Thank you.
well, yeah, obviously, I want to echo that too.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm gonna be the last one to say it.
Timing's everything.
Outside of amendments, things like that, were there any other directives that we need to mention? We don't need to go over all the ones and everything that's been approved tonight, but.
Just two directives to call the firms that we expected to bid on those two projects and ask them why they didn't.
Thank you. All right,
And also
Good.
the cameras.
And then, yeah, thank you.
Installation and the
Yeah.
IT for the cameras on the bridge.
all right. With that, we can recess regular session. And enter into executive session under ORS 1926602E, real property transactions. Let me know when the camera's off.
Forgot that was.